They didn't lower their voices because they thought I couldn't hear anymore. By that point in my life, quiet had become my natural pace. I woke early, made coffee the same way every morning, paid my bills on the first of the month whether they were due or not. Order was simply easier. After 40 years working in compliance and risk review for a regional hospital network, I had learned something most people only learn the hard way. If you document carefully, you rarely need to argue. Paper speaks louder than people. When I retired, I kept that habit. Spreadsheets, receipts, notes. Nothing dramatic, just records. It made life simple and predictable, which is probably why what happened felt so strange. My son and his wife had moved in temporarily. That was the plan, at least. Their apartment lease ended before their new place was ready. Just a few months, he said. The house was large enough. I didn't mind. We were polite with each other, respectful. We had different schedules, so most days we barely crossed paths. They worked late. I preferred early mornings. It seemed like an arrangement that would pass quietly. The first thing I noticed wasn't anything serious. It was simply tone. Conversations stopped when I entered a room. Doors closed more often, not abruptly, just earlier than necessary. At first, I assumed privacy. Young couples deserve that, so I ignored it. Then paperwork began arriving. Insurance letters addressed to me that I hadn't requested, a brochure about senior care planning, a pamphlet about cognitive screening services, all unsolicited, all oddly specific. I stacked them neatly on the kitchen counter. I made a small note in my planner. Just the date, nothing else. I didn't confront anyone. I've never believed in guessing motives. If something is real, it eventually explains itself. So, I continued my routine. Morning walks. Volunteer hours at the hospital archive. Afternoon reading. If someone is watching you for signs of decline, the worst thing you can do is perform. So, I didn't. The vent was in the hallway outside my study. Old house, older design. Sound carried strangely through it. Sometimes you could hear the television downstairs as if it were in the same room. I'd never paid much attention until one afternoon. I was passing by when I heard my name, quietly, then again, followed by the words capacity, evaluation, temporary authority. The words weren't emotional, they were procedural, which somehow made them heavier. I didn't move, I didn't react. I simply stood still and listened. There's a difference between hearing something and understanding it. At first, I assumed I'd misunderstood, but the phrases continued. Doctor's letter, financial control, court filing. They weren't arguing, they were planning, carefully, like people filling out tax forms. I could have walked downstairs, asked directly, but questions create rehearsed answers. I preferred unguarded ones. So instead, I went back into my study, closed the door, and thought, for a long time. The next day, I bought a small digital recorder. Nothing special, the kind journalists used years ago. Clear audio, long battery life. I didn't hide it. I simply placed it near the hallway vent on a shelf. If nothing happened, nothing was lost. If something did, I would have a record. For several days, there was nothing. Normal conversations. dinner plans, work complaints. I almost felt foolish. Then, one evening, I saw both of them at the dining table with documents spread out, printouts, highlighted sections. They lowered their voices, but they didn't realize the vent carried sound upward. Later that night, I pressed play. What I heard wasn't anger. It was calculation. They discussed scheduling an assessment without telling me first. They talked about how the court usually sides with family. They debated how quickly accounts could be transferred for safety. My son said something that stayed with me. He won't fight it. He hates conflict. He was right. I do. But there's a difference between avoiding conflict and avoiding documentation. I didn't sleep badly. I didn't panic. Instead, I did what I'd always done. I prepared. Medical records, updated. Cognitive screenings, scheduled independently. Financial statements, printed and organized. Calendar logs, compiled. And I contacted an attorney who specialized in elder law. He listened to the recording twice, then once more. He didn't react emotionally. He simply nodded. "This isn't concern," he said. "This is premeditated control." He explained the process. If they filed for guardianship, we would respond with evidence. Not arguments. Evidence.